Tonight, pushing Hong Kong to the brink. Resistance in the streets, a mass protest against their own government.
This is about human rights. This is about democracy.
Why Canadians could be at risk.
Kevin Durant down.
The injury that sidelined an NBA superstar.
If you have to, you can blame me.
Why was Kevin Durant on the court at all?
It's an embarrassment to the country, and it is a stain on this institution. And you should be ashamed of yourselves.
Jon Stewart's emotional plea for 9/11 first responders. Why the fund to support them is drying up. This is The National. We begin tonight with a developing story in Hong Kong. It is a city on edge. It's Wednesday morning there, and you're looking live at where thousands of people have already gathered to protest a highly controversial extradition bill. Police at this hour surrounding the city's legislative building. They are bracing for a showdown. Anxiety and anger are building over the law that could send people to mainland China for trial. And it's exposing a deeper fear in Hong Kong and around the world. Beijing's growing desire to expand its power. Protesters are calling for a repeat of Sunday's historic protest, which saw 1 million people take to the streets. The biggest demonstration, the biggest political crisis since the handover more than 2 decades ago. Protesters worry the new law could target journalists, activists, those critical of the Chinese government. Look no further, they say, than the 2 Canadians arrested in China last year. There are another 300,000 Canadians who live in Hong Kong and hundreds who pass through the city as tourists every day. Our Sasha Petrusik is outside the Legislative Council building in Hong Kong where the protests are ramping up. We've reached him by phone. And Sasha, what are you seeing right now?
Well, Ian, all night long, people have been streaming into the area around the legislature. There are hundreds, thousands of people who are here now. I have to say it's a little bit of a different crowd than the huge march last weekend. This is mostly younger people, but I think there will be unions and others joining them later in the day. At least that's the plan. They have filled this area, and more people are coming. It's really a turnout to show how upset many people are, how worried they are about all of this, and how divided this place really is and has become over the past few weeks.
We're speaking to
Hong Kong is polarized in ways many say they've never seen before. Groups of students and activists who organized previous demonstrations are again leading the charge.
It is very important for organizers like me to remind the Hong Kong people that we have to have massive civil disobedience in order to show pressure to Beijing and also gain the international attention and support.
But resistance to the extradition law has spread through parts of society which were never as engaged. Business people are shutting down stores to join the protest.
Hong Kong on strike!
And labor leaders like Ip Kin Yuen are threatening strikes.
The Professional Teachers Union is ready to organize suspension of classes in the near future.
It's personal and emotional. Minnie Lee is starting a hunger strike.
This is the right thing to do. We love Hong Kong, and also this is about human rights.
But the Chinese-backed government of Hong Kong seems just as determined to go ahead with the law, no matter the size of the outcry.
My point of view, the sooner this is done, get it over and done with, the better.
Regina Ip is a member of the Hong Kong executive. She says some changes have been made in response to public concerns, but she says the government cannot back down because it will lose face.
If the government withdrew the bill, it would only be seen as another defeat. Those of us running for elections will be taunted on the street for backing the wrong horse.
And that is Sasha Petrusik reporting. We'll hear from him again next hour. Opposition against this bill is widespread, from business people and lawyers to students, even religious groups. And here's why it seems to have touched a nerve in this city of 7 million. A protest like this isn't normal in communist China, but this Chinese city is unlike any other. Residents in Hong Kong enjoy far greater freedoms than those on the mainland. Hong Kong is technically a part of China, but it's operated under what's known as one country, two systems since 1997, when the former British colony was handed back to Chinese rule. The city continues to enjoy the right to have its own social, political, and legal systems for 50 years. But China has become more overtly authoritarian since Xi Jinping became president in 2012. And since then, Beijing has made substantial efforts to integrate Hong Kong with the mainland. Many see that as Beijing encroaching on the city's autonomy. That's why opponents feel changes to the extradition law would significantly compromise Hong Kong's legal independence, long viewed as one of the crucial differences between the territory and mainland China. The unrest in Hong Kong is being felt here in Canada. Greg Rasmussen spoke to some who feel threatened by Hong Kong's diminishing autonomy.
The police are blocking up the Star Ferry. There are ferry crossing the harbor.
10,000 kilometers from his home in Hong Kong, Kennedy Wong is glued to his phone.
So this is the police and these are the protesters.
He has family and friends on the streets, and he's worried.
I even worry that if there would be a really violent riot, that would be armies to come in and to take over Hong Kong directly.
Wong is studying here, but now fears he may never safely return, a hot topic with his friends.
I feel like this time they don't have hope. They know that it is useless in a sense, but they still go on the street. That is the part that I feel I'm very moved.
That's why he and hundreds protested in solidarity outside the Chinese consulate in Vancouver Sunday, hoping to increase international pressure on China. More than 500,000 Canadians have connections to Hong Kong.
I'm very sad. It's because it is the place that I was born and I grew up and got educated.
Ivy Lee says Canada needs to prepare for a new wave of people leaving Hong Kong, numbers not seen since its handover to China.
If the bill passed, we are expecting that would be exodus. I think within 2-3 years, a lot of the 300,000 Canadians in Hong Kong will come back.
Long arm of China is worrisome for a lot of people as well.
Bill Chu came from Hong Kong in the 1970s. He says all Canadians, especially those living in the city, need to worry about China's ability to arbitrarily arrest and detain people.
What kind of danger this is they are exposed to, and what other Canadians passing through Hong Kong are exposed to from now on.
He sees a future with even more need to protest here, fearing voices will be increasingly silenced in Hong Kong. Greg Rasmussen, CBC News, Vancouver.
And we'll have the latest on this developing story through the night. For now, Rosie, let's talk about a very different event. It got people on the streets, but also in stadiums across Canada. The Raptors.
Or in my case, on the couch. After last night's loss, Raptors fans and the team, obviously Ian, very much in recovery mode today, but there was a moment last night that still has everybody talking. In fact, it's almost overshadowed the final score, almost. Golden State's Kevin Durant collapsed, then limped off the court, at first to jeers and cheers from some fans.
I don't like to hear the fans cheering.
Before Raptors players and others quieted the crowd, the sports world and the Warriors noticed.
Very confused around that reaction.
Other Warriors were less charitable, calling it trashy and classless. Toronto's mayor stressed it was just a moment.
I think, again, that's overstated. I was in the arena, and it happened right at the end of a play, and people were cheering at the end of the play, but very quickly after that, he got a very warm round of applause.
But Durant's injury could be career-altering, and it's hit hard not just for the Golden State, but across the NBA. Because Durant isn't just any player. He's actually one of the best players in the league, maybe the best. A key offensive threat who's been absent with an earlier injury now for weeks. Many wanted him to deliver last night, but as Chris Glover explains, there are questions about whether he should have been there at all.
Kevin Durant not only in the building, but will be in uniform.
Superstar Kevin Durant entered Game 5 of the NBA Finals looking confident.
If they were not facing elimination, he probably would not be coming back.
For days, he watched his team take a beating against the Raptors, sidelined with a calf injury since early May. He came back with a vengeance last night. So when he went down, it sent shockwaves.
It's an Achilles injury. I don't know the extent of it.
The decision to clear Durant was collaborative, the Warriors GM says.
If you have to, you can blame me. I run our basketball operations department. And
the pressure to get Durant on the court was intense, even from himself.
Good for him to sacrifice the rest of his career on the altar of winning a title. It's praiseworthy. But if he did this because the Warriors helped create a climate of you got to do it and pressure him, that is a terrible mistake.
Some blaming not just the Warriors, but basketball culture.
Since they were down 3-1, he was forced to return based on all of the chatter that we knew was going to take place. He's soft. He really didn't want it. He wasn't committed to the team.
This sports doctor shows how the calf and the Achilles connect.
Would it be fair then to assume that an injury on the calf could make the Achilles weaker?
Certain locations, for sure.
Depending on how serious it is, a man on the verge of being a free agent in July could be out next season too.
To return to a sport like basketball that puts so much strain on the calf and Achilles tendon with cutting, pivoting, acceleration, deceleration, jumping, that's usually a bit longer. On average, I would say about 9 months or so.
An injury that may have altered Durant's career definitely altered this year's NBA Finals. Chris Glover, CBC News, Toronto.
The shockwaves of the Raptors' loss last night have disrupted one of the most powerful forces in entertainment, Oprah Winfrey. Oprah had a speaking engagement on the Raptors' home court, Scotiabank Arena, on Friday, but the Raptors' loss puts the kibosh on that. The show's been canceled. If it comes to a Game 7, oh gosh, I hope not, but that will happen in Toronto on Sunday. Oprah's show might have needed to dismantle the court, and at this point, there's just no way that's happening. Okay, back to the thing that I cover most of all. If you watched the game last night, you may have seen two National Party leaders being mocked and criticized. Advertisers paid top dollar to be seen on that record-breaking broadcast. The NBA says, in fact, 14.5 million Canadians watched all or part of Game 5, but these expensive election messages weren't paid for by opposing parties. David Cochran looks at who's behind them and why they're eager to land some hard punches before the end of this month.
This Raptors title run is bringing Canadians together, but these ads,
Conservative Andrew Scheer, he's hiding something,
are meant to divide.
Andrew Scheer, his weakness will cost you.
Anti-conservative attack ads ran in prime spots during the game, and the Liberal Party didn't have to spend a cent because a special interest group called Engage Canada did their dirty work for them.
Engage Canada is run by people with ties to the Liberals, but also to the NDP and Big Labour. And attack ads aren't just coming from the left.
Well, it's been 4 years. Let's talk about Justin.
If that looks familiar, it should. A group called Shaping Canada's Future paid for a sequel to this 2015 Conservative Party ad, even using the original cast.
Nice hair, though.
Shaping Canada's Future is run by the same person who ran Shaping Alberta's Future in that provincial election, a group fueled by corporate money with direct ties to Alberta Premier Jason Kenney.
Rachel Notley is working with her close ally Justin Trudeau.
Game 5's Canadian audience was bigger than the Super Bowl. Ads cost tens of thousands of dollars to run. But those third-party political ads you saw are a black hole of information. Engage Canada and Shaping Canada's Future don't have to tell anyone how much they spent or who gave them the money.
We've tried to put very clear rules in place from June 30th onwards.
June 30th is when new pre-election rules kick in. Any third party that runs ads after that has to disclose its donors and follow spending limits.
It's really important that Canadians have an understanding where this information is coming from. They have transparency to who's funding it, and we have some limits in place.
But until then, it's wide open. And by then, the big series will be over, the big audience is gone, and big money spent with no disclosure at all. David Cochran, CBC News, Ottawa.
We're watching several developing stories tonight. The Prime Minister firing back after he received a letter from 6 premiers saying national unity is at risk if the government passes 2 key pieces of legislation.
I think it's absolutely irresponsible for Conservative premiers to be threatening our national unity if they don't get their way.
The letter is from the premiers of Ontario, New Brunswick, Manitoba, Saskatchewan, Alberta, and the Northwest Territories. They're expressing concern over bills C-69 and C-48. If passed, the first would change the way resource projects are approved. The second would enforce a tanker ban off BC's coast. The Public Safety Minister says his office is looking into whether Canadians are affected by a major data breach south of the border. The U.S. Customs and Border Protection Agency says tens of thousands of images of travelers and license plates were stolen in a malicious cyber attack.
Does not appear to be a serious issue in terms of affecting Canadian information, but we're obviously examining it very closely.
A U.S. official says the images were all taken at a single crossing, but won't say which one. The computer network belonged to a subcontractor, not the agency itself. And authorities now say the pilot who crash-landed on a New York City skyscraper should not have been flying at all. It was raining yesterday when it happened, and the pilot wasn't licensed to fly in poor weather. He was the only person killed. Investigators still trying to pinpoint what caused the crash. Jon Stewart, the former host of the satirical Daily Show, wasn't going for laughs today when he lashed out at U.S. lawmakers. He spoke up for first responders who were called to duty on 9/11 and still bear the scars. To many, they're heroes. Stephen D'Souza tells us why they still need a champion.
Your indifference costs these men and women their most valuable commodity, time.
Jon Stewart was pointed, direct, and passionate as he made a plea on behalf of 9/11 first responders.
Sick and dying, they brought themselves down here to speak to no one. It's shameful. It's an embarrassment to the country, and it is a stain on this institution.
For years, Stewart has fought for compensation for the police, firefighters, and paramedics who were struck by a myriad of illnesses after digging through the rubble.
These men and women and their response to it is what brought our country back. It's what gave a reeling nation a solid foundation to stand back upon, to remind us of why this country is great, of why this country is worth fighting for, and you are ignoring them.
The program to compensate anyone with health issues relating to 9/11 expires next year, and payouts were recently cut back. With 21,000 claims outstanding, many could be left with nothing. Congress is considering a bill with bipartisan support that would continue to fund the program for 70 years.
You all said you would never forget. Well, I'm here to make sure that you don't.
Luis Alvarez is set to undergo his 69th round of chemotherapy, and Stewart made it clear that he and thousands of others shouldn't have to repeatedly appear before Congress to fight for what they're owed.
They did their jobs with courage, grace, tenacity, humility. 18 years later, do yours.
Stephen D'Souza, CBC News, New York.
Thank you.
Jon Stewart spoke with such emotion, such conviction, we wanted to show you more for the record.
The breathing problem started almost immediately, and they were told they weren't sick, they were crazy. And then, as the illnesses got worse and things became more apparent, well, okay, you're sick, but it's not from the pile. And then, when the science became irrefutable, okay, it's the pile. I don't know if we have the money. And I'm sorry if I sound angry and undiplomatic, but I'm angry. And you should be too, and they're all angry as well. And they have every justification to be that way. There is not a person here, there is not an empty chair on that stage that didn't tweet out, "Never forget the heroes of 9/11. Never forget their bravery. Never forget what they did, what they gave to this country." Well, here they are.
Powerful. Next on The National, a Canadian mayor fights back after his town is held for ransom.
And later, why farmers in Western Canada are being pushed to the brink. Plus,
even today, when you look at how far away the lake is, it's hard to believe that it actually happened.
the lasting impact of flooding in New Brunswick.
Today's marijuana is not Woodstock weed. It's not even Cypress Hill weed. That was in the 90s, in case you were wondering. Decades of plant breeding for high THC content mean that some strains are more than 5 times stronger than in the 1970s. To understand why that's important, let's look at what weed does to your brain.
This is drugs. This is your brain on drugs.
But instead of frying pans, let's use neuroscience. Simply put, cannabis contains cannabinoids, about 85 of them. Many users may have heard of the big one, THC, or delta-9 tetrahydrocannabinol. It's the compound that produces the high, and it does that by binding to receptors in your brain and interfering with how your brain's nerve cells work. Users feel buzzed because there are high concentrations of these receptors in the areas of the brain responsible for memory, coordination, movement, and pleasure.
The result? Suddenly the world seems a little different.
Reaction time is slower, judgment is impaired, and while some find this experience pleasurable, others have reported severe effects like increased heart rate, anxiety, and paranoia. And some studies say exposure to THC as a teen may even increase your risk of developing schizophrenia. That brings us to pot's lesser-known cannabinoid, cannabidiol, or CBD. It doesn't have the same street cred as THC, likely because it doesn't get you stoned. Some research suggests CBD helps tone down THC's extreme effects, like anxiety or paranoia, by minimizing its effect on certain receptors. Researchers are even looking into using CBD as a possible treatment for schizophrenia. We tested 12 popular strains from dispensaries in Toronto and found weed that had no CBD at all. That's because when you crossbreed weed to increase THC, the levels of CBD can drop.
Is it worth freaking out about? Well, maybe.
THC potent strains can hit inexperienced users pretty hard. In Colorado, weed-related hospitalizations quadrupled after the state greenlit retail pot sales. As for Canada,
perhaps one day soon you'll see labels like what we have on an alcohol bottle.
Cyber attacks for ransom are a growing problem in Canada. As Katie Simpson tells us, there's a new push for a national strategy to fight back.
Known for its swans on the Avon River and as the home to some of the best theatre in the country, there's little drama offstage in Stratford, Ontario. But the city is now adding its name to the list of Canadian communities held for ransom by hackers. In April, cyber extortionists broke into the city's computer system, encrypted part of the database, and demanded tens of thousands of dollars to regain control of the system.
I think we're one of many sitting ducks for cyber terrorists. They're not really interested in the information. They're interested in disrupting your ability to function, and that will allow them to get money. And they're not.
The mayor won't say whether Stratford has or will pay the ransom, but Canadians may be surprised to learn that decision is completely up to the city and its insurance provider.
My job is to deal with the investigation. It was the city's responsibility to deal with all the demands of the attackers.
A leader of the federal agency that helps protect Canada's communications networks says any city or business stuck in this position should reach out to him for help, but don't expect advice on meeting ransom demands.
The key action with paying a ransom is you have to measure that against how do I get my business back up and running. And that's an individual decision for an organization to work out.
Stratford isn't the first and won't be the last municipality to be targeted in this kind of attack. Law enforcement agencies across the country are flummoxed, and other than practicing good cyber hygiene, there really isn't much anyone can do to stop these criminals. That's why Stratford's mayor wants to work with other mayors to come up with a new security strategy.
As long as we are holding information that is deemed to be valuable to attackers or the new terrorists of the century today, I think we need to find a way to do it.
The mayor will make his pitch for a national strategy for municipalities at a meeting this fall. While he is grateful no sensitive or personal financial information was stolen in this attack, he wants to spare other Canadian communities from the trouble his city is going through. Katie Simpson, CBC News, Stratford, Ontario.
Up next, what happens after floodwaters recede?
The house was right here.
This is the house, yes. And yeah.
It's gone.
It's gone.
The difficult decision many face in New Brunswick, stay and rebuild or start a new life.
Pipes. Pour the beer. Beat the drums. The curlers have descended once again upon Winnipeg.
But Gordy, is this a bigger deal than the PC convention?
Tommy, this is the only big deal in town this weekend. There's 3,000 players that are going to go out there and they're going to toil for about 4 days, most of them, and some of them will go on as long as 5 and 6. So it's important. It's important to Winnipeg.
The national media turned out for the PC convention last weekend, but to folks in Manitoba, it was a minor distraction from the main event in town, the annual MCA Bonspiel.
The Bonspiel has to be what passes for the major social, athletic, and even cultural event on the prairies during the winter season. Bonspielers from right across the country gather together to drink a little, kick up their heels a little, maybe even get in a little curling.
They regard these conventioneers as 3,000 extra unnecessary bodies, taking up valuable space in the city's bars, and nattering on about inconsequential matters like Joe Clark's leadership abilities.
Whoa, whoa!
Little wonder it's the world's biggest Bonspiel. Winnipeg has more curling rinks than anywhere else. A good thing, too, because just about any four-man rink with a $110 entry fee is welcome in this free-for-all. You don't even have to be particularly good at the game.
They get one. Why?
Case in point is the Keith McLeod rink from Dougald, Manitoba, starring Keith, his cousin, Murray, and buddies Willie Habing and Lloyd Pollardwer, all of whom have begged off work for the event. You'd wonder why these strapping lads wouldn't be out playing a real sport, like hockey.
Bad knees.
You got bad knees?
Bad knees.
What do you got? Bad liver, I suppose.
Yeah, starting.
They should start working on their game as well. The non-curler may have trouble figuring out this scoreboard, but our boys are down 10-3, the makings of a bad beating.
Our strategy was to spot them 7 or 8 and see if we could catch them.
Curling is shuffleboard in slow motion. Hard to understand why it's so popular in Western Canada. It's probably as good a way as any to pass the time between drinks. The idea is to slide a chunk of stone to a target down the ice. Grown men make like cleaning ladies to help it slide a little farther than it ordinarily would. The team that leaves the most stones near the center of the bullseye wins. The average team can get lucky, but at the end of a 2-hour game, talent usually wins out. Our heroes lose their first outing. Polite congratulations, then on to the main business at hand.
Let's go drink.
It takes organizations to shuffle more than 700 teams around town and keep them happy. Even if some teams are getting their brains beat out, in this spiel you can lose, 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 and still win something.
Everybody that's in the Bonspiel comes in on 2 sides. It's a double-sided draw.
Okay.
So your first game is in the Eaton event.
Yeah.
If you lose your first game, then you can lose the first games all the way through and drop right out after 4 games on that side.
I mean, if you lose 4 games, you're out of the ball game.
No.
You're not out of the ball game.
No, you're just out on the one side.
You're out on one side. There's another side you can get out of.
Then you've got to lose 4 on this side and go out.
I think I may have to go back to school and get my PhD in Bonspiel science.
We may have to go back to the beginning and start this all over again.
What do you do when you're not curling?
A Bonspiel like this. Drink.
The thrill and excitement of curling may elude the non-player, But the game has plenty of cheerleaders to show us the light.
And so the camaraderie of 4 people getting together on a weekend of this nature and competing, and as you mentioned earlier, having a really good time and getting into the odd disco.
Didn't expect this again.
Spring flooding in New Brunswick affected as many as 16,000 properties.
Makes you want to cry. And don't think I didn't, because I did, and I ain't afraid to say so.
Hundreds of people were displaced. Others stayed fighting to protect their homes and waiting for the water to recede.
Depends how well the pump does in the basement, and I just keep my fingers crossed. That's all you do.
Now, many homeowners face a difficult choice: try to sell their properties, accept a government buyout, or rebuild. Nick Purdon went to New Brunswick to find out how the floods have changed lives.
This is where the waves would come all the way through the trees and pretty much stop here. And that's what we saw that day when we first arrived on the Saturday morning. The waves came right through the trees, right to this area. We walked through probably 2 or 3 feet of water to get to the house. And we opened the door of the house and water poured out of our house as we were walking in.
Dawn Burke describes the flood that changed her life, how the wind came up on Grand Lake and the waves pounded against her house.
Even today, when you look at how far away the lake is, it's hard to believe that it actually happened.
For the last 2 years, New Brunswick has lived through the worst floods in Canada. The flood of 2018 was historic. It was supposed to be a once-in-a-lifetime event. But then the waters rose again this spring. And so people here wonder, what if this is just how things are going to be from now on? And that's why I've come to New Brunswick, to find out how the rising waters have affected people's lives. The house was right here.
This is the house, yes. And yeah.
It's gone.
It's gone.
Dawn and her husband raised 6 kids here. That's a lot of memories. Still, when she was told that her house couldn't be salvaged, she refused to let her children know it upset her.
I didn't cry for it. I didn't cry once for it. I think that for me, it was important to show my kids that material possessions come and they go. And that's not what's going to define who we are.
The province paid Dawn a percentage of what her house was worth, and she considered rebuilding, but in the end decided against it.
We're moving away from the flood zone. How high do you build? How bad are the floods going to get? So that was a struggle for us.
This is the land belonging to my grandparents. A place that used to have a cottage built by my grandfather 48 years ago. I think what it was to me as a child was just freedom, to be creative and to have fun.
Sarah Kirstead has always taken photos to make sense of her world.
I just remember standing in what was their kitchen. The whole front of the cottage was just open to the water. The walls were completely gone.
What do you think you lost?
I think just what I thought to be the symbol of a childhood. And I thought I had lost sort of an era of my life. The living room had a window that just opened right up to the lake, so you could be sitting on the couch and see the lake. And then there was another little bedroom to the right. That was Grammy's room. So she used to have a window right to the lake. Would always listen for the waves in there. In a way, it's gone, but it's still here. That's one thing my grandmother said. She, when we were sort of processing the aftermath, she was like, well, you know, the view's still there. At least the view's still there. I don't necessarily need the cottage to physically be there to still understand what it meant in this area meant growing up to me. That's still there.
Sarah's family decided not to rebuild. They say it's too risky. And these are the kinds of decisions being made all over New Brunswick, all over the country. I mean, nobody knows for sure what the water will do year to year. But what if we could better predict where the floods will hit?
And then you can see here, there's flooding downtown.
This is an interactive flood map developed in Fredericton just this spring. You enter all the environmental variables, and it predicts where the water will go. Now, the remarkable thing is it was created by 15-year-old Cynthia Tsui and her brother Leo, because they've lived through the floods too.
It's just such a devastating event to lose your home due to flooding. So we felt that if people could know in advance of time and could really just prepare adequately for flooding, then that could really help the communities.
What can I do with this if I live here?
If you live along the river, our model can now show, say you live here, if there's a blue color there, it means your house is getting flooded, and you can see how severe it's getting flooded by the color gradient.
Cynthia and Leo tell me it took months of work to create their flood model, which has proven to be remarkably accurate. And they hope to make it available to everyone in the province.
We're just happy to know that we can use our model and we can give back to the community somehow in the following years.
Predicting floods could be one of the most important sciences of the future. More and more people who live beside water will need information to decide what to do with their homes. People like Lisa Sanderson, who lives here on the banks of the St. John River.
Water wasn't an issue when we looked at it. We looked at historic floods and nothing had ever come to the house, so we thought we were safe.
And so Lisa bought her dream home. I mean, who wouldn't? But now things seem to have changed. 2 years in a row, Lisa's house is flooded. And even though the water is gone now, she can't shake the stress of the last couple of years.
I think it's the feeling of walking out on the deck and looking out at where the water should be and seeing a neighbor sitting in a kayak right underneath your deck. Just images like that where we're sitting in, like we wouldn't be able to sit here, we'd be up to here in water right now.
Lisa tells me the thing about floods is it doesn't get easier the more they happen. It gets harder.
This year, the helplessness feeling, I think, was worse. The anxiety was worse because you know what to expect. You just didn't expect it to happen 2 years in a row because you know how hard it is to just see the water coming and know what you have to do and hope that it works. And it's a feeling of doom and dread. It just feels like it's attacking your life, I guess.
Lisa admits that the last couple of years have shaken her, and she's going to start going to counseling.
It's really hard because you just you picture your life here. It looks like just a little piece of land to someone, but to us, it perks us up when we come home every single day. Look at it, it's beautiful. It's hard to think about planting your life somewhere else, but at the same time, we can't go through what we went through the last couple of years.
In the end, Lisa isn't sure what she'll do. She's explored building a flood wall, and she and her partner have looked into moving too. But how do you sell a house that floods?
I haven't actually been down to the beach since the flood. It was a little too real, I guess, to see the water. When we first came down to this beach, this is one of the selling points, is standing here looking at this river.
And now what is it?
It's like that friend who betrayed you, who, you still hang out with, but you're just careful.
And that's the thing, we've always been attracted to water, wanted to live near it. Maybe the question is, how do we do that now? Nick Purdon, CBC News, on the banks of the St. John River.
Parts of New Brunswick may have had too much water this spring, but on the prairies, they have too little. A multi-year drought is taking a harsh toll, stunting crop growth in fields and pastures, leaving ranchers with few options for their hungry cattle. As Bonnie Allen tells us, for some, the only recourse may be selling their animals.
Lee Norheim had to buy feed for these cows at a time of year when they should be dining out on an all-you-can-eat grass buffet in the pasture.
This is the driest I've ever seen it.
Norheim doesn't even have enough grass for these few dozen bulls. He has to buy them extra food. Normally, his entire herd of 200 cattle would graze in the pasture all summer.
It's about 6-7 inches tall right now. This grass should be over a foot, maybe even 1.5 feet tall by now. If we were to turn our cows into our grass, they would probably eat it all in approximately 2 weeks. And what are we going to do for the other 4 or 5 months?
It's been record dry around here. Just 5 millimeters of rain in April and May. Usually 13 times that amount falls. The drought has hit parts of Saskatchewan, Alberta, and Manitoba.
I haven't sold any cattle yet myself, but this is a real possibility and it's something that we are seriously considering.
Hay crops aren't growing either, and after a couple dry years, feed reserves are depleted too.
We've gone to the cupboard and the cupboard is already bare.
All crops are showing signs of distress, but this Ministry of Agriculture expert says it's not too late for crops to rebound.
Rain right now, and they would be off to the races. Anything that they get, those roots are going to forage for and grab and use very, very efficiently right now.
There's little sign of that rain in the forecast. Caitlin Duncan's canola crop has stopped growing.
It's a little bit of frost damage and just overall moisture stress. So some of the plants still haven't germinated, and some of them are just, they haven't really grown much. We're not panicking, but we are worried about it.
She needs significant rain over the next few weeks. So does Lee Norheim. If he doesn't get it, he'll have no choice but to downsize his herd, like many of his neighbors. Bonnie Allen, CBC News, near Regina.
Up next on The National, why life-saving operations could be harming the environment.
It flies under the radar because it's invisible.
What you likely don't know about the gases used to put you under.
First, though, a preview of a story you'll see here tomorrow night. Paul Hunter looks at what's become big business in the U.S., protecting students from a dangerous reality.
Code blue, code blue.
To be clear, it's just a drill. There's no emergency this time. Their school is in a county where tornadoes tend to strike. The shelter is to protect against that, but by design, it's also to protect against that other ever-growing worry in all American schools, mass shootings.
Well, the feedback's been wonderful from parents. It's that sense of security, knowing that their kids are safe at school. If that inevitable event happens where a bad guy's on campus, we've already taken care of that. We've already put in the work to help protect as many kids as possible.
Areas. While the location's great, their home doesn't quite have all the comforts of their neighbors. Ottawa's Corey O'Kelly has the story.
Welcome to the coldest street in the nation's capital, the Ottawa River. People live here. So what's going on? Why are Bernie Benak and his wife Shirley Kent ice-locked in the middle of the Ottawa River?
Well, I'm still trying to figure it out, but it's a very nice place to be. It's like country in center town.
Well, this is a wacky story with some sad history. Actually, Bernie and Shirley's place isn't an ordinary house. It's a boathouse and marina. Last winter, their old boathouse was set on fire by vandals. Since then, they've rebuilt the boathouse, and this past fall, they towed it back up the river to a new spot. Welcome to 24.5 Sussex Drive. No electricity, running water, or mail, but Bernie and Shirley are smack off the middle of ritzy Rockcliffe. Not bad, eh?
Why, they even have some pretty swell neighbors out here.
Yeah, their next-door neighbor is none other than the Right Honourable Prime Minister of Canada, Jean Chrétien. That's his place up there.
He came down this summer, though. He's a very nice man, and he said he enjoyed it. He'd lived in Rockcliffe for many years and wanted to come and see the place. And he gave us a nice compliment, so we hope he comes back. He's more than welcome to come back.
I think he should invite you over for dinner.
I think so, with his electricity.
Bernie and Shirley are bucking the cold because their insurance company won't cover the house unless they live in it year-round. So to keep warm, they hauled in 20 cords of wood. And they need all of it to keep their voracious pet stove happy. It's fired up 24 hours a day.
Not a piece.
A gas generator provides emergency power for the TV and for reading. And they cook camper style on a small propane stove.
Sure do miss my oven. Okay, it's done. Brekkie burn!
And every morning, Shirley heads out to the front yard and gathers up a few chunks of river to keep the icebox topped up. Boy, talk about your modern conveniences. But there's one thing she doesn't have to do.
Well, with no electricity, I don't have to vacuum. So I sweep. I sweep and I sweep.
Bernie, well, he makes about 10 trips a day on the snowmobile to pick up supplies. Today's purchase, a hot water tank.
What's the first thing you're gonna do?
Take a shower. Yeah. Yeah, it'll be great.
Now, you might think this is all hardship out here, but actually, this is not such a bad place to live. Just string 30 or so batteries together. You've got enough power for your pinball machine?
Take that.
Seems the only thing these folks don't have under control is the shifting ice.
It would be a loud crack, a loud boom sound, like a faraway dynamite sound, and it would it shakes the lampshades and the antenna on the top of the TV. It moves the plants. It wakes you up. It's such a big bang.
But at least the neighbors are quiet.
I wonder if Mr. Kretchen is home.
In Ottawa, I'm Corey O'Kelly.
I'm Jamie Poisson. Tomorrow morning on CBC's daily news podcast, Front Burner, I'm talking to writer David Wallace Wells about climate change. How much is the world actually going to warm? And how bad will things get in 2050? Download it wherever you get your podcasts.
The sample tested positive for Ebola. The confirmed case is a 5-year-old boy.
Uganda has confirmed its first case of Ebola, a young boy traveling from the neighboring Democratic Republic of Congo. The country is in the midst of an outbreak that began back in August. The health ministry says it recorded more than 2,000 cases and nearly 1,400 deaths. 4 more bodies have been recovered from the Danube in Budapest after a tourist boat sank 2 weeks ago. The wreckage of the Mermaid will be taken away for analysis. The boat collided with another vessel in May, killing 26 South Korean tourists and 2 Hungarian crew. A scathing review of Oxfam's British operations slammed the organization for not doing enough to address sexual abuse by aid workers. The findings come from the UK's Charity Commission's probe into Oxfam's work in Haiti after the 2010 earthquake. Staff there were accused of sexually assaulting children and paying for sex. The review found some aid workers were fired, but others were allowed to resign quietly.
The healthcare industry in North America has a pollution problem. One study showed it generates about 10% of greenhouse gas emissions in the U.S. But as Christine Birac explains, a few changes in the operating room could actually go a long way in helping the planet.
Anyone about to undergo major surgery isn't thinking about climate change. They need general anesthetic to sleep through the pain.
All right, so we use 2 different gases in anesthesia. We use sevoflurane and desflurane.
Dr. Namley knows they're both strong greenhouse gases, worse than carbon dioxide when it comes to trapping heat inside the Earth's atmosphere. But as other industries cut carbon emissions, the release of anesthetic gases has only increased.
It flies under the radar because it's invisible.
One of the big issues is education. So many anesthetists in practice are not aware of the other side of the agents they use.
The 2 commonly used anesthetic gases can work equally as well, but one is harder on the planet than the other. Sevoflurane lasts about a year in the environment. Desflurane lingers up to 14 years, traps 5 to 20 times more heat, and costs roughly twice as much as the alternative. To quantify the impact of desflurane gas, Dr. Timur Ozalsel did some calculations. When desflurane is used in one operating room for 7 hours, it has the same impact as driving a car from North Cape, Norway, down to Cape Town, South Africa. So why don't doctors just switch?
If you've been using this for the last 15 or 20 years, you'll be worried about trying something new.
But this information isn't being taught to most medical students either, nor is it required. So a small number of Ontario hospitals have decided, while patient care obviously comes first, they had to do something about anesthetic gases.
The gases go into the patient, they get exhaled through the endotracheal tube.
It doesn't take much gas to put a patient under.
So how much of the gas is the patient actually taking in?
The patient is actually only taking in about 5% of the anesthetic gas. The rest is actually exhaled.
The other 95% is sucked through a pipe and released onto the roof of the hospital, sometimes knocking out birds. Here at Toronto General, they're capturing that extra gas.
This gets connected to the canister, and then the gases get absorbed within the canister.
Well, here the canisters, they come from the hospital. So
Dushanka Filipovic founded Blue Zone. Her canisters trap anesthetic gas molecules in a filter so they can be extracted and recycled back into new anesthetics.
So basically, it's a cradle-to-cradle type of solution.
Whether it's switching anesthetic gases or capturing them, new solutions are needed, and some argue they'll come when governments start regulating medical emissions. The World Health Organization has said climate change is the #1 health issue of the century. Christine Birak, CBC News, Toronto.
Up next on The National, you've heard We the North a few times maybe, but you might not have heard it yet in Ojibwe.
We can say that in Ojibwe. We can say ki nwa, ki wed no.
I'm not going to try it. Anyway, that's next in our moment, but first.
I just received a beautiful letter from Kim Jong-un.
In case you missed it, Donald Trump's so-called bromance with North Korea's dictator is still on. The U.S. president today swooning.
I can't show you the letter, obviously, but it was a very personal, very warm, very nice letter.
A Trump-Kim summit a year ago was an icebreaker.
We fell in love.
But love can be cruel. A second summit in February was a failure. After that, key members of Kim Jong-un's negotiating team disappeared, according to some reports, executed. That's not a stretch. A South Korean NGO just documented more than 300 sites of public executions across North Korea. Kim Jong-un hasn't budged on nuclear weapons or his missile program or his continuing verbal threats against the U.S. At first, Trump's love seems to be blind to all that.
He's kept his word to me. That's very important. And again, the letter he sent was a beautiful letter.
But the Trump administration has not budged on sanctions. They're biting. North Korea is again relying on food aid. Experts see a stalemate.
It's Kim Jong-un, he gets it. He totally gets it.
And gushing flattery might be Trump's way of trying to break it.
When you head into the Great Lakes in midwinter, you brace yourself for two major obstacles, storms and heavy ice. But it was neither of these that became the first big problem on this trip. At the northern end of Lake Huron, the ship developed a serious engine problem.
I had a failure in the main engine governor. We diverted the ship to Drummond Island for security reasons so that I could check the governor out in as much as possible and find out what was right with the engine. I was not able to correct the problem, but I was able to compensate for it by increasing the amount of pitch on the propeller so that while the engine did not pick up full revs, we still got full power.
Because of the problem with the engine, the Doane was almost a full day behind schedule. With a daily operating cost of about $5,000, any downtime quickly becomes expensive. The ship arrived in Chicago January 27th, unloaded a portion of her cargo there, and headed back north in Lake Michigan. The weather remained cooperative. No big storms developed. But there was ice and plenty of it. Progress was slow through the Straits of Mackinac and the St. Mary's River system as the ship headed for Lake Superior. Still, the Doane transport was able to cut through the ice on her own. The Doane was to find its biggest ice problem outside Marquette, Michigan. Up to 3 feet of ice brought the Doane to a standstill. Forward movement was impossible without the help of an icebreaker.
If it hadn't been for the American Coast Guard, we never would have gotten in there.
How long did it take?
I think it was about 18 hours, something like that.
To cover how long a distance?
About 7 miles.
The icebreaker Mackinac waited for the Doane to unload the cargo, then escorted her back down through Lake Superior to the Sioux Locks. From the Sioux, the Canadian tanker proceeded alone into the St. Mary's River system on her way home. That brave attempt proved to be in vain. About 1 hour later, the Doane was icebound again. Aboard the ship, time dragged as we waited for help from the Coast Guard.
Oh, it can be quite frustrating sometimes because when the ship is moving, you know, you're going somewhere and then you're sitting there doing nothing, so it's not very fun.
Watch TV, you know, or I go down to my room and I have a cassette player, you know, and I just sit down and listen to my music, or, you know, do my laundry, or, you know, play cards or anything like that.
There are 20 men aboard the Doane transport and 1 woman. 22-year-old Jackie Beaton is second cook. She's been shipping out for the past 3 years, following in the footsteps of her 3 brothers. And what's it like to be the only woman on a ship? No serious problems, says Jackie.
I've had a few, but not really to speak of. There's not too much. It gets lonely sometimes, but that's about it. You're pretty well protected on the ship with the union and everything. If anyone gives you any problems, they get fired. So you have no problems, really.
You don't have to lock your door at night or that sort of thing?
No, I've never had to anyway. I hope I don't have to.
Would you marry a sailor?
No.
Why
no,
not?
I wouldn't. I wouldn't see enough of them unless I sailed too, and I don't want to sail too. So that's out for sure.
We're not sure. We think it's in a heat exchanger, and the germ in the heat exchanger down.
The U.S. Coast Guard vessel Raritan arrived on the scene about 1 o'clock the afternoon of February 3rd. Small but powerful, the Raritan soon had the big tanker moving again, but only briefly. One of the icebreaker's motors went out. Sports.
We the North. So how many times have you heard that this week or even over the past number of weeks? It's a phrase that seems to have taken over Canada. An Ontario teacher got in on the hype. He used the phrase as an opportunity to teach his students a new kind of cheer, and that is our moment.
So one of the things that students like chanting is the "We the North, right? So I said, you know, we can say that in Ojibwe. We could say "Ki Nwe, Giwe de Don." I think a lot of my students are caught up in the Raptors in the playoffs, and some of them are really big fans. And for myself too, I've been a really big fan for the last 5 years. We're always looking for teachable moments, right? So if there's something really big that's happening, like baseball, hockey, or basketball, let's see how we can bring basketball into the classroom. I think that's the best way. It's one of the more critical ways for students to really learn the language, because it turns our language into a living language. The other one is let's go Raptors, let's go. So we would say, Ambe Raptors, Ambe.
Okay, that one I could maybe do. That one was the easier one. So here's a funny note that Dominic made. The translation of raptors into Ojibwe is actually a word that means alligator standing up with 2 tiny arms, which the elders apparently think is the funniest thing they've ever heard. So complicated to translate a little bit.
And why is that even a term in Ojibwe, the alligator with 2 arms? Like, where did that ever come up?
I don't know.
You know, I remember a CBC radio show years ago about how the first French Expo play-by-play people have to come up with a whole bunch of French terms for baseball, right?
I get it.
So, for example, I know you're a fluent French speaker. Do you know the French term for fielder's choice?
Oh, God, no. I don't even know what that means in English.
Anyway, so yeah, so that's and you know, the other thing I loved about that is the teachable moment. There are educators all across the country watching that, nodding, because great teachers are always looking for something on in the headlines or on sports that they can take into the classroom. So that was a great example.
Yeah.
That is The National for June the 11th. Good night.
Good night.